3, 2, 1. You ready? You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Real Pineapple. It's your humble host, Hunter, here, and I'm here with guest contributors to the podcast and DC apologist, I guess I would say.
Oh yeah, your resident DC shill reporting in.
Yeah, Allissa, hi, how are you?
Hi, I am doing really good. It was a nice holiday. How about you?
It's it's funny. My first thought today was, one of my first thoughts today was, oh my god, I don't have to work today. Like what a what a great concept. I don't have to work on a Monday.
It's like the best feeling ever, where you kind of wake up and you're like, oh, it's Monday, but then you have that realization. You're like, oh, wait, I'm going right back to bed. It's the best feeling ever.
Right, and it's weird. Of course, happy Memorial Day to all those who have served. Thank you.
Thank you.
But I'm gonna be. My birthday's next Monday. It's weird. I'm gonna be 30. Oh God, 34. Oh God. Oh, I'm getting ever closer to the grave. Alyssa. This is how it.
You've officially beaten Jesus, though.
I did. That's. Wow. Okay. First off, for those of you who know you, they'll really appreciate that joke. Wow. I love you so much for making that comment. but we are here to talk about a movie that
we're here to talk about a couple movies, actually.
Yeah, so we're gonna kind of do a hybrid of two reviews. So I'm gonna try to keep the first one short because I wanted to kind of go into the second one. So we're reviewing Justice League Dark and then Justice League Dark Apokolips War, which I know how it's spelled. Apocalypse is spelled weird. I'm so used to, like
the correct way.
Yeah. It's like, all right, like fine. You want to do like
Apocalypse
this,
is spelled like if you were 5 and you were trying to spell it for the first time. That's how it's spelled in DC.
That's actually a very good way to put it. But Justice League Dark, though, we were talking about this off mic. So the Apokolips War, and we're going to jump back and forth here, people, so just hang in there with us. But DC, as I have said at multiple times on the podcast or on Twitter when someone yells at me because I don't like a DC movie, I've always been quick to point out the fact that I'm a huge fan of their animated slate overall. Really the first, quote, bad, unquote, DC animated movie they did was The Killing Joke, which I stand by the fact is one of the most overrated Batman stories that's ever been told, and it gets worse the more I look at it. To be like, Batman in general just gets worse the older I get. I'm like, God, Batman's a dick, and just really doesn't give a shit about anyone. Like,
I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. I think that when you have someone who just doesn't get the character, then yes. But there are a lot of really great Batman stories, that showcase his humanity, in my opinion. And I am kind of one of the people who's in a little bit more of a minority in terms of, I actually have been really enjoying where they've taken a lot of his stories lately with, Damian Wayne in particular. So yeah, just gotta put it out there. I love Damian Wayne. I'm like the one person who they polled who does. I just think he's a really fun Robin. Just especially after, kind of a generic lineup that we had in between, Nightwing and all that. So
he does give some personality, definitely, to the character of Robin.
Yeah, and if you've been following the animated movies that he's been featured in, and this continuity is called the DCAMU. Yeah. You actually have seen a pretty cool character progression with him just on film, even if you're not really following the comics at all. But before, I wanted to do this, and I totally forgot, so I'm glad I remembered. Before I actually tell you anything about what I thought of Apokolips War, I was not surprised after finishing it and going online and kind of, seeing some of the reviews to find out that this is actually a fairly polarizing movie. It's gotten a good critical reception online, but in terms of actual forums and everything, it seems like you either really love it or you really hate it. And that actually didn't surprise me. I thought for sure it was going to be one of those. So this is kind of what I wanted to ask you, Hunter. Knowing what you know about me, What do you think? What do you think? What camp do you think I'm in? And I'll have one. I have a guess for you as well.
For Justice League, for Apokolips War, you mean?
For specifically Apokolips War, what do you think? Do you think I loved it or hated it?
I think you loved it.
Okay, I think you're probably one of the very few people who's maybe in like the 7 out of 10 it was okay category.
Yeah, so you're wrong, because I'll be honest, I love this movie.
Oh, okay,
like,
yeah. I loved it too. I almost felt like it was specifically made for me in terms of all the things that I like really love out of this animated continuity were like turned up to 11 in this movie. So I felt like I was in the writing room almost. I'm like, yeah, no, show me more of that. So
no, because I'm sitting there the whole time, because I watched it with OJ, who, James, as you know him, this morning. Because I was telling him, like, dude, I like this as much as I like the original Avengers. And he was like, wait, what? I'm like, dude, I was like, I'm not blowing smoke. You know, that's the thing. I'm the first one. If DC does something good, I'm like, okay, guys, like, let's celebrate. Because, you know, their live action stuff has been polarizing, to put it mildly. But
right.
This was such a nice, oh my God, this, like, give me more of this.
Well, I hate to tell you that this is officially the end of this animated run, and they're now going to be probably going into completely different plots and characters and keeping with kind of like the rebirth thing. So this was the last one that you're going to get to see with all those characters.
No, I know this is the last one, but we'll get to my theory on what they're going to do next. But very quickly, because I just want to go through Justice League Dark real quick. So Matt Ryan, he plays not the Falcons quarterback, but Matt Ryan. but Matt Ryan, as in Constantine Matt Ryan, as in a guy who really should keep his role, by the way, because I know there's rumors about him being recast for the Justice League Dark HBO Max TV show that they're doing. They need to keep Matt Ryan. He's been such a loyal soldier to DC, and after having his show canceled because NBC is terrible, it's so cool that they brought on the Legends of Tomorrow, and he fits onto Legends so well, shockingly well, if we're being completely honest. And Justice League Dark is such a great showcase for Constantine, and you know, you see Batman front and center because you know they're trying to sell DVDs or digital whatever, but
he's literally only in that movie to sell it to more people, just because they didn't, I think, have enough faith that Constantine Zatanna would keep your average person's interest. But I think that's such a flawed way to look at it, because I don't think a lot of people are even looking for these movies or interested in these movies unless they already know like DC and characters. But yeah, no, Batman in the first Justice League Dark is very, very ancillary.
Well, the thing is, too, and I always have to point this out to people, Iron Man was a B-level hero at Marvel before his movie came out. So, I mean, you don't know if someone's going to hit that upper tier until you give him a shot. And I think what made Iron Man explode is probably going to be the same thing that's going to make Constantine, is because they got a great actor who really breathed life into it. Yeah, and so this story in particular, Justice League Dark, basically these people are having are seeing demons wherever they are. There's this incredibly the movie opens up beautifully with this lady in a car, and she just sees these demons in front of her and just starts mowing them down, and she gets confronted by Wonder Woman. And I love the line where she tells Wonder Woman, "Oh my God, look at all these monsters, look at them." She goes, you know, I only see one monster. And you look back, and she just ran down all these fucking people. You know, she basically Billy Joel through a house. It's like, oh my God, just like ran all these fucking people down. And
then it cuts right over to a woman who sees her newborn baby as a monster and is getting ready to jump off a roof with it. And yeah, so it's just like a very, very dark opening with
nice.
with some of the imagery. And both these movies, Dark and Apokolips War, they do not hold back on the brutality at all. Like
our ratings for both.
Yeah, there's I think actually Raven dropped an F-bomb in Apokolips War. I think it was just the one though.
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, which great character to say that. So,
yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, like you said, they're seeing demons and everything, and essentially it's just because there's been a disturbance in the force, and
Nice.
if you know your DC villains, you probably already have a hunch about who's causing it. So Batman gets recruited by Deadman to go and find Constantine and Zatanna and basically get to the bottom of it. And it's kind of like a detective movie for a big chunk of it, which I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And the chemistry between all the characters is top notch, between Constantine and Zatanna, and even Batman for when they have to kind of drag him in and remind you he's in the movie. Swamp Thing has a great cameo in it. I guess not more than a cameo, but yeah.
He's kind of so okay. So I don't want to. Normally we go into spoilers, full spoilers. I think for Apokolips, damn it, will so hard to say, but for that we'll go more into spoilers. But I kind of want to dance around this a little bit and just gonna say a couple more things and get to our thoughts on it. But Constantine is amazing in this, and he really gets to showcase his very wide array of spells and knowledge that he has as far as the arts. There's this great scene where he's gambling that I just went, oh, Constantine, you are just delightful. And it really shows how much of a dick Constantine can be, which he never apologizes for. It was like I was watching myself. But he's so great in the role. And then what's his name? The guy who plays Batman now. It's
Jason O'Mara.
Thank you. So Kevin Conroy, that's my man. Conroy will always be my Batman. But I gotta be honest, Jason O'Mara, he's warmed up to me over these last 7 or 8 animated films I've seen him do. His Batman, it works for me now.
No, I think a lot of people just had an initial aversion to it because you're so used to Conroy. So and that's elite level. So anything, it's the same with the original Harley Quinn. Even though Tara Strong is a great voice actress, there was a lot of growing pains for me to get used to her. So yeah, it's the same thing with Kevin Conroy. Jason O'Mara, I think, actually does a very good job. I think he unfairly gets a lot of flack from the fan base. So
no, I think that's completely fair. And Rosario Dawson, I mean, she was making that Marvel money. Now she's making that DC money. Great for her. I mean, I think she's wonderful in pretty much anything she's in. So hearing that she's Wonder Woman, it's like, oh, right on. The one that I have to admit I fanboyed out over was Camilla Luddington as Zatanna. So first off, Zatanna is just she has a very, I'll say, male appealing look to her. It's the best way I'll put it. She's not an unattractive character as far as her look, but this movie does a good job of kind of making you go, oh yeah, she's hot. But then if you don't know a lot about her, and I'm kind of familiar with her, but you do get to see a lot of how powerful she is. I was like, oh, okay, solid power set.
I really love the magic users in DC. So I've got quite a lot of books with them, with Constantine, Zatanna. Some of I always love stuff where it's the villain is Cersei or Felix Faust. There's a lot of fun I think you can have with a magic user, because with a lot of other superheroes, your powers are a bit limited. Superman can fly and shoot lasers, but you can really get creative when it's just it's magic. I don't really have to get that into it. So Zatanna is actually a really fascinating character, and for a long time. One of her stories was basically about how her father, Zatara, was Dr. Fate, and just kind of, not, wearing the helm. So she has a pretty fun, history, actually, if you ever want to go and, look into it a bit more. She's had some really good stories.
Well, it's funny, because I actually just got... So I was watching these yesterday, and so, Allia's watching with me, and she's like, oh, well... what's this character's deal? And I was like, oh, so we had a 20-minute Green Lantern quick tutorial because I was talking about Green Lantern. She's like, oh, okay, so there's multiple colors? I'm like, yes, there's this color, this color, this color. So we were going through all of this, and I just bought the DC Encyclopedia, actually, because I'm spoiling myself for my birthday and getting a bunch of shit I don't need, but I just want. I was like, oh, fuck. I got it last week. I've been flipping through it, so I'm really curious to get more into Zatanna, because I really dig her character. But Camilla Luddington, she also voices Lara Croft, and I'm going through the Tomb Raider games right now, and I'm just loving those so much. So when I heard her voice, I went, I know this voice. Like, oh, okay. And her and Constantine have great chemistry, and it's a very common theme in this movie that everyone has a beef with Constantine because he just pisses everyone off, and I just really appreciate that. Like, he gets punched at least. He gets punched by at least.
Oh yeah, everyone. I think that's why I really like Damian Wayne too. Is I think I just like unapologetic kind of asshole characters. I think that they're just kind of fun to watch. Work off other people.
That totally explains why we relate to them. That makes a lot of sense. But I'm gonna leave the story and go into Apokolips War with that. I'm gonna give this a quick score just because there are some twists near the end that, again, normally we go full spoilers, but I want to leave the bulk of the time for Apokolips War. So I will say about Justice League Dark, it really makes me want to read Justice League Dark just in general. Like, I just got my new tablet on Saturday. I think I'm gonna get the DC Universe app again and start reading up on reading some Justice League Dark. I'm just very curious after watching the movies. I'm like, okay, I will give this app another chance. I would give it. I'm gonna give it an A- because I was not expecting Swamp Thing 2, and that was just a very nice surprise. I was like, oh, okay. By the way, bring his show back. I like what DC was doing with the Swamp Thing TV show. I hope it comes back on HBO Max. But yeah, I'd give Justice League Dark an A-. Yeah.
I would definitely echo that. Yeah, there's a couple things here and there that, could have been executed a little better, but overall it's a very good story, excellent characters, and I would say, if you haven't seen it and you're planning on listening to the rest of the podcast, you really should go and watch Justice League Dark before we spoil all of Apokolips War for you, because it's gonna color your watching of it for the first time if you know how it all ends, and I don't think that that's the right way to do it.
Agreed. So with that said, now, all right, let's get into the meat and potatoes here. So Justice League Dark Apokolips War. Okay,
it was so good. I loved it so much. Like I said, I felt like it was almost specifically made for me, just in terms of how much emphasis there was on things in particular that I love. Love Raven, love Damian Wayne, love Constantine, and they are basically center stage the entire time. I love the balls out gore and brutality. I love the twists at the end. Yeah, I will say I can understand for people who are certain fans of certain characters why you might feel really done dirty by this movie, because there's a lot of people who don't have lines, a lot of people who kind of die in really undignified and anticlimactic ways. Shiva, man, I actually do kind of like
that.
Shiva.
That came from nowhere too. Like, I was like, oh shit. Okay.
And that was, I would have liked to see her do a little bit more. But yeah, no, this movie's a meat grinder. You're going to see a lot of characters that you know and love bite the big one.
Yeah, so I would actually compare this to Harry. Oh my gosh, the last Harry Potter movie.
I was about to say The Last Airbender. I'm like, what?
No. I would compare it to Last Harry Potter because there are a lot of characters that that through these films you've grown up with and seen them evolve, and there are a lot of characters where they get maybe 10 seconds to fight, and then they get, like, they did Batgirl real dirty in this, and I was like, okay. I was like, I'm not crazy about that, because I'm a big Barbara Gordon fan, and I love Oracle too, and I was just like... I was like, okay, I don't love the way you just... Shazam 2, that was another one. I was like, okay.
Well, and the frustrating part is that a lot of the people who do die were teased in previous installments in this, Donna Troy was, Jericho was, Barbara Gordon, you see her for a bit at the end of Bad Blood, and you're thinking that you're going to get a movie with her, maybe, because this is not the same Barbara Gordon from Killing Joke, just in case you weren't sure that.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, and then, like, a lot of other people who, like, again, in Bad Blood, you spend a lot of time with Batwoman in that movie. You see her for a couple seconds here, and then she dies. So, I mean, depending on how attached you are to your favorites, it can feel like a little bit of a slap in the face sometime, but I was pretty forgiving of it because, honestly, 90 minutes is, a pretty good runtime for this one, and they had to keep it moving and keep the focus where it belonged, which was on, like I said, Constantine, Damian Wayne, Raven, Superman trying to fix the whole issue with Darkseid. So I was a little bit more forgiving of it.
Okay, so very, very quick plot synopsis. So at the end of Justice League Dark, they tease that Constantine, they flat out say Constantine has been invited to join the Justice League. And Zatanna, she accepts the offer. Constantine's like, fuck off, essentially. But then this movie starts off, he's accepted the position. And everyone goes ahead and goes and meets basically in the the
Watchtower,
essentially.
Yeah,
there you go. I did love that Constantine was about to get laid and goes like great, like cock block Batman or something, or
yeah.
Batsy. I was like, oh Constantine, you sly boots. But in
the beginning, I do want to say one other thing though, just that happened right in the beginning, and for as many times as this movie did surprise me, especially at the end. When the movie starts with Zatanna telling Constantine to remember how much she loves him, there's literally no other, okay, you're dead. Like, you're dying, like, right away. Like, then, know, so yeah, spoiler alert there, but Zatanna does not last very long into this movie, and it was like, it couldn't have been, they sent that, telegraph UPS ground, you saw it coming miles away, so...
I mean, that's true. I mean, he might as well have said, I have one day till retirement.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the only... But they go ahead and Superman's leading this meeting saying, like, hey, we have a chance to get the jump on Darkseid. Now, for the record, before anyone gives me crap about it for loving Marvel, yes, I am aware. Darkseid was created first. I know. Shut up. And Darkseid... The thing about Darkseid is he always comes across to me like Apokolips in the sense of that just when you see him, just his frame, he always comes across so intimidating. Plus, he always has his arms folded behind his back, which always creeps me the fuck out.
Plus, he's voiced by the MVP Tony Todd, who is one of my favorite goddamn dudes in Hollywood. So
yeah. True. But Superman basically says, hey, there is no... And the Flash brings up a really good point, basically saying, hey, is he going to launch an attack now, or is this a thing that happens in 1,000 years? And Superman is just very determined, saying, fuck it, we're going to go ahead
and get the jump on him. As the inciting incident, I do think it was kind of weak. It didn't seem... like the greatest plan, and it did seem actually a little bit out of character for Superman, quite honestly, to be pushing as hard as he was. So this is something that I was registering even as I was watching it. I'm like, this just doesn't seem... I don't think that they built the case for this quite as well, but we need to have a movie, and to have the movie, they need to go to Apokolips, so...
I'm really happy you brought that up because I'm right there with you. Like, I went... like, as smart as Superman is, I just went... I don't love that reasoning, that logic, and as the movie starts up, you see that Darkseid has hacked Cyborg, essentially, so he's able to see... which I feel like happens a lot.
Thought about because, well, I mean, he's got the mother box technology. If there's anyone who can hack in, it's probably Darkseid. So.
I mean, true, but it feels like Cyborg gets compromised way more than he should, and I'm always just like, all right, like, I hate that, because as powerful as they make Cyborg in the comics and the movies, the anime movies, for him to be hacked so easily, it's kind of like the whole problem I have with Cerebro in the X-Men movie. It's like, something always happens to Cerebro. It's like, fuck, think of another way to, Like, could we stop, just giving the Cyborg, like, this huge guilt complex because he always, gets compromised. But the movie picks up 2 years later after their initial mission, and the mission went basically X-Men Days of Future Past. It went fucking horribly.
Yeah, things went a little pear-shaped literally as soon as they get to Apokolips, because as soon as they get there, they find out that instead of the regular parademons, Doomsday has merged his parademons with DNA from Doomsday, so they are now paradooms. And obviously, you know, Doomsday is made from Superman, so you got Superman and parademons had, you know, a baby. It's just not good. So most people were just no match whatsoever. It was a total massacre.
And we talked about this is a hard R. It is a hard R rating because
yes.
you see Nightwing get stabbed through the chest, which I was like, Jesus, okay.
You see people getting ripped in half. You see like Starfire's corpse on the ground, completely bisected. Yeah, it's brutal. Wonder Woman gets her arm torn off in loving detail. Shazam loses a leg. It's like, yeah, not for the faint of heart. It's very bloody.
Yeah, it caught me off guard at multiple points, and I will say, as a huge fan of Teen Titans,
me too.
to see the Titans laid out, I was like, that's not cool. Like, Titans got fucking destroyed. I mean, when you see Superboy get ripped up, you're like, oh man, okay, this is just
Superboy
like...
got his neck snapped. They had Wallace
West
right. for all of 5 seconds on the ground as a corpse, which did kind of make me laugh a little bit, just because, you know, my feelings on the thing. But
I do.
Also, it was really weird because in Teen Titans, I think it was the Judas contract, they had Wally West, not Wallace West, so I don't know if that was a continuity error or not, but yeah, so, and again, it's kind of a bummer just because they had also teased Donna Troy at the end of that movie, and you don't see her at all here, or if you do, she's in the background probably getting her head ripped off or something. Oh, hold on, Hunter.
Yeah, so I mean, I will say for myself, looking at the movie, Constantine, there is this great thing with him, with Constantine running away. They showed in a flashback that Zatanna, she goes ahead and gets killed, as we mentioned, and that Constantine flat out runs away as she's being killed. And it's a very not Constantine move. And so I remember thinking, I really hope these explain.
I was thinking the same thing, like, oh, if they don't justify that at the end, that's going to be a huge like detractor for me, because you are right. You know, Constantine's a lot of things. He ain't a coward, and he also doesn't really give that much of a fuck about his own safety. So, especially if, you know, the woman he loves is dying. So I'm very glad that they actually did explain it. Which, wow, though, that was really fucked up, wasn't it? Like, poor guy's living with this guilt for no reason. Yeah, basically, Zatanna had put a spell on him so that he would save himself if the situation turned hopeless. It was like a compulsion spell. So, yeah.
And of course, Batman would be smart enough to think that far ahead because he is Batman. But I love the fact Constantine goes, we're going to talk about this. Like, this in no way absolves you for the bullshit you put me through. I'm like, good. I'm happy that you went ahead and called him on that. I'm a huge fan of Raven.
Yes.
On Titans, and they do a great job of giving her a really just heartbreaking arc, because I mean she's watched multiple of her friends die. Go ahead.
As I say, and if you know anything about Raven, you know, she has kind of, you know, maybe an icier shell, but she's actually a very loyal member of the team, and, you know, basically sees them as her second family. So yeah, she's ready to actually kill herself when she bumps into Clark Kent and they decide to try and, you know, figure out a way around it. She spends most of this movie looking very haggard, super emaciated, shadows under the eyes, you know. So she has a very, very, very sad time in this movie overall. But yeah, if you love Raven, you're going to actually really love this. Love seeing her on screen here. They do such a good job with her character.
What they do with her and Damian, now, does that happen in the comics? Her and Damian?
I haven't, no, because she's part of the original Teen Titans. Damian.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, no, but they have been building this up. It's not like it came out of nowhere in this movie. They had some cute moments in Justice League versus Teen Titans and in Judas Contract. But yes, I thought it was super cute too. I think that they actually work really well together.
Damian, this is my favorite version of Damian too. Like this League of like, I gotta be honest, I was a little disappointed when he put back on the Robin costume because I was liking the League of Shadows look that he had. I went, oh, stick with that, man. Like this is fine.
I thought he kind of looked like a Fire Lord from like Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Really.
I don't know.
Oh, see, I loved it. I loved the outfit.
That's not an insult, but yeah. It was. I actually kind of thought it would have been a little bit better, if, like you said, he didn't put the Robin costume back on because it seems. I don't know. It just kind of seems like it doesn't fit something he would do now that the team's completely decimated, other than Raven.
Yeah, I'm actually right. I'm actually right there with you. I will say, just kind of going through a couple other characters I liked. Dwight Schrute, Rainn Wilson himself as Lex Luthor.
Really?
I like his voice work. It does take a little while to get used to hearing, Dwight play Lex Luthor. It's just a little.
I was begging for Clancy Brown back. I did not like his voice at all. Yeah. No, I'm like,
okay.
Although, when I did see that it was Dwight Schrute, and, like, at the end, he's being all snarky, he's like, just a power surge already taken care of. I just kept quoting Office in my head with that. So I'm just like, don't you know anything, Batman? Yeah.
Okay, if he had said that, this would be, like, a perfect score. But, I liked him in the role. Who I really like is, O'Connell.
Superman, yeah.
Yeah.
He was very good, yeah. And I actually think out of all the new movies, Superman has been one of the hardest ones for me to really get into, but in Reign of Superman and in this one, they really do a good job just like with his humanity and his compassion, which I think we're missing from some of the earlier installments in this continuity, like in Justice League War and, JL versus Teen Titans. He doesn't really come across sincerely as when he's relating to humans, but they definitely fixed that here. You see a lot of his really compassionate side here.
Him and Lois. So Jerry O'Connell, I don't know if you know, but they were, I don't know if they are, but Jerry O'Connell and Rebecca Romaine, who plays Lois Lane, that rhymed. But Lois Lane's a badass in this. Like, she is a legit badass. I was like, okay, I really like this. The first kind of big scene you see her in, she's going ahead and she's in a fight with Harley Quinn, and I gotta be honest, and
Harley Quinn was awful in this. It was so annoying. Oh my gosh, I
loved her. I loved her in this. I thought she was
really?
She was great.
Oh man, I did. I was fast forwarding during like a couple, not really, but like. No, first of all, so it's not Tara Strong this time around.
It is not, no.
And I didn't really like the voice actress. And two, it actually is not forced for the Suicide Squad to be in this movie. It's not like a forced plot element, but they made it feel forced, and I thought it could have felt way more organic. I don't know. I really didn't care for her scenes.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting, because honestly, watching this Harley, where she was like singing nursery rhymes and she's hitting people with the bat, I was like, this is kind of more the Harley I want in live action, to be honest. Like, I think
you have that with Margot Robbie. She has that same energy.
Like I'm not saying it's anything on Margot Robbie. I really think it's more the script she's been given. I like her as Harley, but I haven't had that defined. Like, I haven't had that no man's land scene like I had with Gal Gadot, where I'm like, oh, she's Wonder Woman. I haven't had that scene, in the gas station with Zachary Levi, where I know, oh, that's Shazam. Like, I haven't had that moment yet with her.
Have you seen Birds of Prey? Yeah, we already did that movie. That's right.
Yeah.
I see her pretty iconic in the role at this point. I think that she suffers from not being in as good of movies as Wonder Woman and Shazam. So.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a fair point, but I like the stuff I got with the Suicide Squad. I thought Captain Boomerang was fucking wonderful.
I did love that moment where Constantine and Captain Boomerang are like Aussies, Brits, and they just start insulting each other. That was pretty great.
Just a great dick measuring contest right in the middle of this fucking movie, and oh my god, that was John DiMaggio who was King Shark. King Shark, okay, King Shark was great. Okay, that's amazing. King Shark was fantastic, and I love the fact that the movie, because
Acknowledge that Constantine's bisexual.
yes, because I was kind of like, are they going to touch on that? And uh, it's great because I can't remember who asked him.
It was
Harley's.
yeah, it was he was standing next to Harley, and Constantine was like, "Oh no, that's my ex," and she's like, "You and Harley? Gross." He's like, "What? Do I look crazy to you? No." And then the shark winks at him. It's pretty great.
I died. I was like, okay, that is subtle, but fuck yeah, love that. Love that they acknowledge that. Um, oh god, there's so much I want to actually talk about here. Okay, we get a Damian and Batman fight scene that I thought was so beautifully brutal, and it shows that what happens when Batman isn't holding back. I would have liked for Damien to get some more shots in. To be honest, I thought it was a little because it was too one sided.
Because there was a similar sequence in Bad Blood, when he's taken over by Talia, and Nightwing and Damien both fight, and they get a couple shots in here and there. I would have also liked that because Damien is actually a very competent Robin. He's a very capable fighter, and he doesn't, I think, land a single blow on this one.
He does not, no, and that did bother me because of how well I know Damien is trained, not just from Batman, but from the League. And it's like, really, he couldn't get one fucking cross or anything in.
I mean, Batman has been infused to the Mobius chair for 2 years, and that probably makes him even more stronger and sociopathic. Which, by the way, I would love. I'm sorry, you have to explain where Darkseid got that, because that isn't that the Monitor? Doesn't that belong to the Monitor? How the fuck did he get the Mobius chair?
Okay, so that's funny. That's one of the few notes I actually have written down. And I was like, wait. Now, again, I fully acknowledge I am not as up on my DC as I am my Marvel, but I'm pretty well versed in my DC, and I went, wait, from what I know, unless they addressed it in a movie earlier, I don't recall how would he have that.
No, they never explained where he got it. And like I said, it's an easy one to just let roll off your back, but if you do act, I mean, like you said, even you're like, no, that chair, that's like an important thing in DC. The Monitor is a very important guy in the DC universe. Like, you gotta, I don't know. But it was just something I noticed.
Didn't love that. Well, it's funny, because I just watched the big CW crossover when it came out, the whole Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they go in depth pretty well with the Monitor. So I was like, wait, I was like, I was like, that's not how this works, but okay, whatever. Who I love, and I'm gonna have to defer to you completely because I wasn't familiar with this character until I watched Justice League Dark. Etrigan?
Yeah, Jason Blood and Etrigan. Yeah, he's great.
He's wonderful. He might be I don't know what is he in DC? Does he team up with a certain group, or because I loved him?
Honestly, I haven't read any books really specific to him. He usually just kind of shows up in other people's. Whatever. But no, his deal is basically just kind of a knight who gets fused to a demon who loves to talk in rhyme. And at the end of, we're not doing spoilers for Dark. Sorry. But basically, Etrigan's really sad in this movie, and he's known for kind of, being he's kind of got the Diana thing going on where he's always raring for a good fight, and Breezefire has a magic sword, awesome warrior, and he is hilarious in this.
So, okay, you mentioned Diana, so...
This is actually the first movie that I really liked Wonder Woman in, if I'm being totally honest.
Damn, really? So I like Bloodlines. I like Bloodlines. I thought Bloodlines was good, but I will say for me, Diana gets this hero moment that Alea genuinely had goosebumps when, and you'll know it when you see it. But it's such a okay, that was fucking really well done. And
are you referring with a lasso?
Yes, which, by the way, this movie does a great job showing how clever Constantine is, because he does this thing to Wonder Woman that I went, oh my god, you clever bastard. It's a very subtle thing, but...
I love how it's one of those where, it's because that happens in the book sometimes whenever they're fighting someone who's, under a spell or mind control. I'm like, Diana, you have this thing, and it's not just good for tying people up and getting them to tell you the truth, because for those of you who don't know, the lasso also breaks enchantments and mind control.
Yeah, which I was happy they actually addressed that in this. So I was like, okay, good.
You didn't see Justice League versus Teen Titans, did you?
I have not.
Okay,
no.
they do kind of the same thing in that.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I love the last big fight we get with Darkseid and what's the demon that Raven's trying to always keep at bay? It's her dad, right?
Darkseid and Trigon is the matchup I didn't know I needed, but I did.
Trigon, thank you. I love that whole arc with Raven because it does show how strong Raven is, and it gives a very logical reason as for why she tried to stay away from Damian, which I really did appreciate. I went, okay, that at least makes sense. And it's one of the few times you get to see Damian actually be somewhat vulnerable. I was like, oh, what a concept. He's actually like not being his dad. But by the way, you see Batman at a point hug Damian, and that was something I went, holy shit. Like, if he'd gotten more of those, you wouldn't be such an asshole. Probably. But
that actually cracked me up a little bit, because it's like, yeah, he gives him a hug, and, Batman starts to apologize, and Damian's like, don't make this all emotional, father. It's not your fault. And it's like, the man just saw his son be vaporized in front. Will you let him be emotional? You're not going to have this chance again,
I mean, I get that, but also at the same time, they are in the middle of, like...
And it's totally in character, but it's just sitting there, it's like, yeah, I guess it does run in the family a little bit. Just like, yeah, none of that. That's enough.
So to kind of go off of what I thought was fucking brilliant, because it feels like a throwaway thing, they do bring up Flashpoint. And, for those of you who aren't aware of Flashpoint, Barry Allen's mom dies, goes back and goes ahead and stops Reverse Flash, and then that sets off a bunch of not awesome things that occur because he made... honestly,
then he has to go back again and stop himself from saving his mom, but it doesn't go back to how things would have been. It creates just a slightly different world, and that world is the one that we've been seeing in the last, 6-7 movies.
Yeah, and I love that they acknowledge that, hey, you're very, the thing is, it's a very human decision, but it's a very selfish decision. And his selfish decision, caused all this shit. And when they find the Flash in this movie, he's in a real bad spot. And I love the way that he, is really begging Constantine, almost like, fuck, kill me if you can right now. Like, that'd be awesome. But he just gets him to go to sleep. And I love that.
I'm so glad we got to see the giant treadmill, because that's been a staple in the comics for, other stories where they have Flash on a giant treadmill to power something. And it's just one of those things that's so silly, but so fun. I loved being able to see the giant treadmill. I don't know. Just maybe just me.
I know. I thought I immediately went to Crisis when I saw that. I was like, okay, that is kind of a staple.
Well, I think in Dark Knight Strikes Again too. When Carrie Kelly rescues the Flash, he's running on a giant treadmill. So I mean,
oh, that's right.
People are always just putting this guy in giant hamster wheels and shit. It's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, but I mean, he's fast enough. It's fine. But
I know, but it's just the imagery is very comic booky, and it makes me smile in a very nostalgic place of my heart.
Fair. Oh, look at you getting all emotional. But I appreciated it, and this movie ends kind of where Flashpoint does, in a sense of Barry has to make a decision, and Constantine even tells him, look, things might only be, things are still going to be shite, as he puts it, but it can't be worse in theory than where we are
I like to think that entire part of the script was borrowed from a DC board meeting where they're talking about this whole New 52 thing is actually really turning out to be a fucking disaster, so we need to start over.
There's some good new 52,
but by and large,
not for Wonder Woman or Superman, but there is some good new 52.
There's some, but overall, I think that you got a lot more mediocrity out of it than you did good. But I don't know. I was thinking that the entire time. It's especially look, wherever we end up, it may be shit, but it'll probably be better than this. And then he just puts his hands around and waves to all these characters, and I'm like, wow, topical. So
right.
I will say that as beautiful as the ending was, which it ends on a very nice shot, of him running in and everything kind of whiting out as the timeline is reset. this movie opens with a quote, and the quote is, it's like one of those prayers where it's like, have the courage to, accept the things you cannot change, have the courage to change the things you can, and then have the wisdom to know the difference. So that's the very first quote in the movie. Now, just before Flash runs off into the sunset to do another rebirth, Superman gives this big speech about how we don't quit and we're going to rebuild and we're heroes and this is what we do. And it's actually a very nice speech that he gives. And then you have Constantine, he's like, nah, fuck that. This ending sucks. Flash, go.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. That's a really good point.
Because the entire, I actually, and I'm not just saying that because I'm bitter, I'm not going to be able to see any of these characters in this iteration again. I am a little, but that's not why. I do think that kind of does undermine what it seemed like they were going for with the message, which is all about rebuilding and perseverance and, like you said, even to an extent, vulnerability, where you see at the very end, Damian and Raven together, and it's two people who probably, if the world hadn't exploded, would have never gotten anywhere, so...
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I think for me... Because, like I said, the Killing Joke that anime movie left such a bad taste in my mouth. I was really pissed off leaving the theater because I remember I saw that as a Fathom event, and I remember I paid $20, and I remember going what the fuck when I got out of the theater, and then I rented it or I watched it on HBO maybe a year ago, and just went, God damn it, it's still bad, and I want it to be good so badly because it's Conroy and Hamill. Why wouldn't I want that to be great? And it just doesn't fucking work, and it makes Batman look like a bigger tool than he normally is.
No, the script for that movie is terrible, and if they would have just stuck with, if they would have just done a page by page Zack Snyder style adaptation, it would have been way better, honestly. So yeah, I'm not.
You lost me at Zack Snyder, but
well, no, I'm not. I'm not. You know what I mean, though. The man, when he doesn't really have creative control and he's just doing adaptations, I mean, he really knows how to bring a page to life. You got to give him that.
That's visually for me. Yes, that's
yeah.
fair.
So take all those visuals and then just have someone go and transcribe the little speech bubbles from the comic book into a script. Easy.
I like the way you call them speech bubbles, by the way. You sound a little more condescending.
Whatever, you know what I mean.
Go ahead and get your coloring book.
But it is very sad to me. It's bittersweet to me in the same way that Endgame was, where it's just you're not going to get any, you're not going to go back and have any more kind of fun popcorn stuff with this exact cast and this exact ensemble, because I really did enjoy a lot of the characters that they had been building. I know there's a lot of people who just really think that the new movies are really terrible. Some of them definitely are much more C tier than others. That's totally true. And some of the good ones even have their moments where you're like, ugh. But by and large, I actually have been very much enjoying this run. And I'm sad. Yeah, I'm sad that I don't get to see any more Damian and Raven. They're so cute.
Oh, well, I will say for me, though, this really did get the taste of Killing Joke out of my mouth, which was such a nice. So Justice League Dark did that, and then this came in. I just went, oh my god, this is great. I was so happy by the end. Oh, okay, not happy because there's some dark shit in this, but I was very hopeful when the movie ended, and I think what this new potential timeline we're gonna get. I think we're going to get a lot more. I think we're going to get bigger.
Well, my theory is that they're just going to do storylines from the rebirth. So, that seems to be kind of where they're going. I don't know. I think what we're going to get, I think they're going to pump more money into these animated films. I think we're going to get more of these released theatrically, to be honest, and I think we're going to get bigger stars attached to voice some of these characters. I think DC, by the way, Shamar Moore, even though he's not in it nearly enough as Cyborg, I'm becoming more of a Cyborg fan. He's really grown on me just because I'm replaying Injustice 2 right now, and I'm just like, booyah, I love Cyborg. Give me more Cyborg. And, although I love when he's like, I get the last word before they boom Apokolips away, and it wasn't booyah, and I'm like, huh. I think it was suck it bitches, and I'm like, that's not bad either. Bitches. But yeah, I was expecting a booyah.
I was expecting Booyah too, but Suck It Bitch just made me laugh. And there's a scene too. Sorry, last thing I'll say before we get to our ratings. The scene with Jon Stewart on Oa. Holy crap! That's my favorite scene in the movie.
Oh, see, I was thinking you were gonna hate that.
So it sucks for Jon what happens, but he goes out like a G. Like, he went out like, I was like, dude, yeah. I was like, I love Jon Stewart.
That was actually one of the moments that made me so genuinely sad, because it's like, I don't know. I was all geared. He starts doing the chant, and then, and then that happens. It made me really sad, but in a good way, Like, I will say, I do want to throw one other thing out there, though. And this is just because I'm such a huge fan of the Teen Titans, and I also actually really like Cyborg. In one of the earlier runs of Justice League versus Teen Titans, the comic, there is a plot where Cyborg was basically killed or lost fighting Darkseid, and he's trying to reach back out to his friends, and it's like manifesting in like attacks. It's been a while since I read it, but basically the Titans figure out what's going on. They're like, no, okay, it's Victor. We gotta do something. But the League is kind of, didn't have their coffee that morning, and they just want to kind of kill him and extract that consciousness and just get rid of him. And so that's what they're actually battling over. And the reason they were able to figure it out was because he's only like semi-sentient at this point, and he just kind of has like this inherent yearning for like home and for his team. So whenever he would show up and like all this destruction would happen, whenever like a Titan would show up, they would be like he would never attack them, and he would like protect them. It was just a really cute, really sweet run of comics. So that's what made me think about with like, how he got boomed away to Apokolips is kind of like a similar sort of inciting incident as the one in the comic books, where it's just like, you think he's gone forever because, he sacrifices himself, but then he, like, just as part of his programming, just misses so much what he had, and he kind of finds a way to start manifesting back on Earth.
Oh my god, you're such a nerd. That's just, I'm not gonna lie, that made me happy listening to you explain how that made you happy. Like, that was, no, seriously though. Like,
I have those books if you want me to loan them to you.
Let me know, because I'm gonna get the DC Universe app again here, because I do want to go through and start reading more Titans, and getting to our final thoughts here. I thought both films, I mean, I already gave the A- for Justice League Dark. I think this is as good, as I said at the beginning of the review, I think this is as good as the original Avengers film. I thought this was top to bottom really what I wanted. Again, some gripes, a few, but nothing that that took me out of the movie enough to not enjoy it. This is a solid A for me. I thought this was just, this is how you do one of these, and if they can whatever the next run is, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think we're getting a lot of stuff based on Rebirth moving forward. If they can maintain this quality, I'll be buying whatever they're selling moving forward. I thought this was just excellent. Yeah,
so for me, despite all my jokes and nitpicks and everything, this is a solid like A+ for me. I had such a fantastic time watching this movie, and like I said, a lot of my sadness stems from the fact that I don't get to see these characters anymore, but like even the stuff that I kind of found annoying or a little grating at times, it was not enough to even remotely diminish my enjoyment of this the entire time I was watching it. I love all the twists it took. I mean, I always love it when a movie can surprise me, because I've seen so many movies, and you can almost always tell where they're going these days. But there were some genuine shockers in this one, and I'm gonna probably be rewatching this one quite a lot throughout my life.
Yeah, I don't own this because I just rented it initially, but I am gonna have to buy this now. So yeah.
Oh, as soon as I watched it on yours, I went and bought it on mine. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna want to keep this one in the library.
Fair. Yeah, I am that critic asshole. Like, there's a 4K edition of this. I have to have it in 4K. Anything less than 4K, I'm that person. No shame in my game.
I want to see Wonder Woman getting her arm ripped off in 4K. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but this is something that I really do hope people seek this out, because I mean, we're all home for the most part right now. I mean, you've got time.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You might as well watch some great shit.
But
But
like we
yeah,
said,
what?
definitely try and watch some other movies in the continuity first. Like Hunter, I honestly think that I mean, they're very imperfect movies, but you probably like the Teen Titan movies that they did.
I mean, I will get around to those because like I like I know we're going kind of way back, but I like I love Green Lantern First Flight. I haven't watched Justice League vs Teen Titans.
And you haven't watched Judas Contract either, I don't think.
I haven't watched that one either. Yeah, I feel like I need to watch both of those.
Yeah,
So
like I said, they're not nearly as good as this one in terms of like the strength of like the script, but I mean, if it's just like it's the same thing with comics. If it gets down to just a character you enjoy, you're gonna watch it. You're gonna read it. You just want to see this person interact and have a story, even if the story can sometimes not be that great. So I think it takes a lot for people to really turn on a character or a story. One More Day style. So
yeah. I will say though, it looks like Judas Contract has Blue Beetle, and after playing Justice 2, I dig Blue Beetle.
Dude, Blue Beetle's awesome. He's one of the ones that I really like who doesn't have a line and gets just murdered in the background in this movie. But no, Blue Beetle's awesome. He's also, depending on what run you're reading, his powers are either magical or scientific in origin. They changed it like twice. But yeah.
And also, last thing I'll say, no Paul Dini, no Bruce Timm on this.
No, I don't think that. I think that they probably would have come in, seen some of the storyboard art, and turned right back around.
Yeah, all that to say though, this proves that they can make an excellent animated film without either one of them being involved, and that makes me feel better. To be honest, I was like, oh, okay, because I was looking, I was like, all right, where's Tim and Ordini? I was like, oh, none of them. Okay, this is good. So
that said, though, that you can tell that the person who made this, other than the giant treadmill, there's a lot of comic book imagery in here. The way that they made Raven look basically echoes exactly how she looks throughout Terror of Trigon, the comic book. Very emaciated, hollow cheekbones and all that. I can't bring any to mind right now, but there are just several moments where you can tell that they're cribbing off of an image from a comic book or something like that. So it's written by people who know the source material and obviously have a fondness for it. And I think I remember talking with you with Birds of Prey, where that movie fell flat and where the Justice League live action and Batman versus Superman falls flat is the people making those movies the people in control, creative control anyways, don't really understand what makes these characters good. So that's why they're not good in those movies. People made this movie understand why people love these characters.
No, I agree 1,000%. They understand what makes these characters so endearing to people. Raven is always kind of one. I feel like it's very easy to fuck her up. So I was very happy to see her get the shine she did. But yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of this.
Yes, and you do get to see White Raven in this too. Again, it's almost like they made it specifically for me because I would have been happy without that, but they threw that in for people like me who really love Raven. She turns into the White Raven at the end.
God, you nerd.
Shut up. You of all people have no right to call anyone else a nerd. You went to Shazam in a full body costume, okay?
You always go back to that, and if you have me as a Facebook friend or you have me on Twitter or Instagram, you've seen the Green Lantern impromptu photo shoot I did last night, which was fucking awesome, and I stand by it.
See, I complimented you. I didn't call you a nerd. How about a little courtesy there, bud?
Oh, hey, I wear the badge of nerd like a badge of honor. Okay, I am very proud when I'm being called a nerd. Thank you very much. But yeah, I absolutely enjoyed this. Please go seek it out, even if you're not a DC fan. Watch another couple movies in the canon. This is well worth your time. But yeah, have you guys seen either Justice League film? Let us know what you thought in the comments below. You can go ahead and like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple. You can go ahead and follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. And you can follow my colleague Scott on Twitter at NearmanTheFirst. And go ahead and find us on, okay, here comes all of them, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, and iHeartRadio at The Real Pineapple. And whew, wow, I got through all that one breath. Go me. But guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll have reviews up this weekend for Defending Jacob, which I am really curious how that's going to end. And since June 1st is right around the corner, all month June I'm going to be reviewing stuff I want to review. So
Hunter, just curious, didn't you also want to do a little bit on the Snyder Cut?
Yeah, so actually I was going to do that as a separate recording, just because we've gone like an hour on this. So, you're fine. But yeah, and we are about to talk about the Snyder Cut because I'm getting requests for it, and I God, don't want to talk about it, but I have to talk about it. But we will talk about that here in just a second. So, guys, thank you so much for your support, and we will talk to you guys soon. Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day.